Welcome back once again, everyone. So, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse has swung into cinemas, and I got the chance to check it out. It's actually a really good movie. So, in the event that, this is still new in cinema, because some people haven't seen it yet, I'm going to go through my top 10 takeaways from this movie. Warning, there will be some spoilers, but I will try my best not to completely, spoil the entire thing. Okay? So without further ado, let's get into this review. First up, SpiderGwen. Okay, I know you're thinking, well, this is a Miles Morales movie, and you're right, it is a Miles Morales movie, but it's as much Gwen Stacy's movie as it is Miles Morales' movie. And okay, I'll be the first to admit, at certain times with Gwen Stacy, I was like, for the love of God, just get your shit together and be done with it. But that was like fleeting little seconds or maybe a minute or two during the movie. Okay, it happened. It really did happen, and you kind of had to juggle it, but you actually did get to see when she was doing fighting and saving people as Spider Woman. I think it's Spider Woman. I really don't know, but yeah, that she was actually pretty good, even though she was kind of doing this whole depressed, I don't know where I am kind of thing, and she was dealing with a lot with her father and all of this baggage. So yeah, it was a bit heavy, but again, throughout the movie, she started to change, realize what she was doing. Whether she should do this or shouldn't do this, whether she should go down this route or not. And if she did do something and it was problematic, it was a learning and growing experience. So it was actually really interesting, and I will say it actually worked out pretty well there. So yeah, was okay with that one. Number 2, Miles has really come into his own. Okay, so if the first movie was about Miles Morales learning how to be Spider-Man in his own universe, this movie is about him learning what it means to be a hero. And I'll go into that part a little bit later on down the road, but he's really come into his own basically as the Spider-Man of Brooklyn in his universe. He has, gotten most of a handle on it and stuff, battling criminals, doing what he has to do. It's still funny, just like the first movie. The humor is there, so it actually works well with what needs to be done, or what's going on, how he's going. But he's also still struggling with his family life, school, trying to get things done while also being a superhero, and wondering, should he tell his parents, should he not? It's the struggle of the superhero life, and it's actually done pretty well. You get a chance to actually observe it, and you like it, and you see, well, okay, this is actually happening. We could work with that. It makes sense. All right. So yeah, Miles is actually come into his own in this movie, and he's grown. You could see that, not just physically, but he's grown as a hero, and that's it. And that was a nice touch to this movie. Number 3, Spider-Woman. Okay. It didn't work in the comics. It doesn't work in this movie. I mean, even if you get past the fact that they race swapped Jessica Drew, which is kind of hard to, because they literally race swapped Jessica Drew. I did a video on that. But even if you get past that, right? Even if you get past that blatant race swapping of Jessica Drew, the fact that you have a pregnant Spider-Woman makes no sense whatsoever. It didn't make sense in the comics. It doesn't make sense here, because she's riding a motorcycle, shooting webs, jumping around, fighting, all kind of thing while pregnant. And when you look at her, she's like 6 or 7 months pregnant. You understand me? And then later on in the movie, you realize they get to find out that months have passed and she still ain't make the child. So I don't know, maybe it's like some weird spider thing, probably, but it just doesn't work. It doesn't make any kind of sense. They try to play her off as this, really cool, badass character, and Gwen Stacy is all, she could learn a lot from her and all this thing and that. Fine. But it doesn't work at all with the whole pregnant thing. It just doesn't work, people. No matter how you try to even try and spin this, it just doesn't work. Really at all, it doesn't work. Number 4, Spider-Dad. Okay, so Peter Parker from the first movie, the actual, Peter B. Parker, I remember once you get understand. Yeah, Peter B. Parker, the one who taught Miles how to be Spider-Man and give him that speech and all of this thing. He's back in this movie. But the problem with it is that he's just basically Spider-Dad now. Yes, he has a daughter, and yes, Mayday is cute, and I see what they're going for here, with the Mayday Parker thing that they're setting up for that that whole storyline where Peter Parker and Mary Jane have kids, and Mayday becomes Spider-Woman in the universe. We're setting up for that, but okay, and it's fine. And don't get me wrong, his daughter is adorable and she's cute, and she's swinging around on webs and all kind of thing and crawling around and stuff like that. But he's just basically walking around in like a bathroom with a baby carrier in front, and he's trying to get people to hold this baby, and holding the baby will really change you and all that stuff. And it's like, okay, it's adorable, it's cool, but you would have liked to actually see him put on his Spider-Man suit and actually do some actual badass shit. But you didn't get that. He was just Spider-Dad the entire movie, and I thought it was like a really, really poor attempt at them doing that, when they could have actually given him more of a development in this movie. He could have still had the baby. You could have still see the baby there. You could have shown the baby and all this stuff. I mean, it's good. It's good to see that he and Mary Jane are together. Seeing that he and Mary Jane are together and they have a daughter and they're starting a family is really good. I mean, it's a lot better than that shit that they're doing to Spider-Man in the comics. But I just say that I think he could have done more rather than just being Spider-Dad. That's just my take on it. I think he could have done more than being Spider-Dad. Next up, the animation style, the colors, and the music. Okay, so the animation style is pretty much the same as you got in the first movie. It can be a little overwhelming at times, the way that the animation tends to change, especially when they're going through the different universes and you get to see different things, and it's a little overwhelming at times. The music is actually really good. The music scores that they chose were actually really good. It suited what was being done. And like I said, the animation is a little overwhelming at times, but not enough to make you turn away from the movie. It's actually done pretty well, but it can be somewhat overwhelming at times. And the colors are bright, they're flamboyant, they're everything that you need, you get with this. It's there. It's actually very visually appealing. It's a good movie. It's a good movie. It's a good movie in the sense that the animation, the colors, and everything blends really well with what is being done in this movie. So it works. It actually works here. It's actually really nicely done. It's got a lot of pull together to see what needs to be and what's actually there. Next up, the same problems in the comics are in this movie. Okay, now this one, like I said, don't get me wrong, it's a good movie, and I get that and all that stuff. Okay. But you see, the problem that I have talked about in the comics are actually quite prevalent in this movie. Now, okay, we understand it's a Spider-Verse thing and they're doing all that, but we get to see the different variations of Spider-Man all over the place. We got Spider-Man India, we got Spider-Punk, they even had Sun Spider doing a short cameo. God, that was terrible. We also get a lot of other cameos from different things. especially like, you know, the Amazing Spider-Man movie, all the kind of things, and Tobey Maguire. Look, I think we got all of these things in the movie. Like I say, spoilers there. Okay, we got that. But with all these spider people, as I've said before, it cheapens Spider-Man. Because when everybody's special, nobody's special. And the fact that you have so many of them just littered about all over the place, it was funny, it was done really good, it was really enjoyable and funny in this movie, the way that they actually did it, but it doesn't change the fact of what's happening. Now that's one. Two, the problem with Miles is in the comics, it's still here too. Miles, as I've said before in the comics, doesn't have a personality of his own. Now in this movie, they do a lot better of trying to flush him out as a character, okay. But he doesn't have villains of his own. Alright, because he encounters Spot in this movie. Spot is the main villain he's dealing with in this movie. Well, one villain he's dealing with in this movie. And the problem with it is that Spot is a Spider-Man, a Peter Parker Spider-Man villain. And you just have, it's the same thing that keeps happening in the movie, in the comics, the same thing happening in the movie. Miles Morales doesn't have enemies of his own, so he just keeps getting Spider-Man throwaway villains or whatever, and they try to amp them up to be something that they're not, but it's sort of there, and that's really what they keep doing. They keep pushing that with it. He doesn't have villains of his own, so he doesn't have a rogues gallery, but they just keep adding, like, you know, villains from that Spider-Man would deal with. We got a Renaissance looking Vulture that Gwen was fighting, and then we have this Spot that Miles Morales is dealing with. It's all there. Now, they did do the part with the whole protect trans kids stuff poster in Gwen's room. Now, if you're not really looking hard for it, you wouldn't see it, but it's there. And I must say, I did actually hear a few people see it and stoops and kind of grumble and talk about it. But everybody kind of moved on after, and nobody really thought about it that much either. But there are some things in there, some stuff that they're trying to do, but I think what it boils down to is basically that, you know, that's probably the crew and them trying to put in their own thing. But most people didn't really care about it. They were just watching and enjoying the movie. But like I said, some of the problems from the comics are in here too. That's the thing about it. Next up, Multiverse Madness. So this is another multiversal story. And I've said it before, I don't have a problem with a multiverse story when it's done really well, but the way Marvel and DC has continued to drag this multiverse thing out, I kind of completely hate it now. I just really and truly just kind of hate it now. Because it doesn't make sense with the way things are going. Now, one of the main things in this whole multiverse thing that they try to establish the whole web of life stuff and thing, and okay, it's there, all it's stuff connected on all of this. And again, as I say, you get a lot of these different spider people, you get different Earths and all kind of thing. I mean, you even have like Mumbai, India kind of thing. It was, you know, it's a whole different thing, and we get a lot of different multiversal stuff happening here. But my own, I mean, it works for the movie and all okay. But I'm just thinking that, you know, at some point they need to stop beating this dead horse with this multiverse, because it's getting very confusing. And the more they keep doing it, like I said, the more they just keep cheapening the character of Spider-Man on the whole. Next up, what does it mean to be a hero? Now, this is something that these movies are doing really well, and if Disney was smart, they would take notes and get that. Understand me? Because just like in Spider-Man No Way Home, you are faced with a large question in this movie, and you have to see how they overcome it, because you have to ask yourself, what does it really mean to be a hero? Are you going to say, well, okay, we're going to sacrifice one life to save millions or billions? Are we going to fight against supposed fate and destiny to save everyone? Should we just, say that, well, being a hero means making sacrifices? Or does being a hero mean that you rise above that? You fight against that. You save people because that's what you do. And maybe along the way, you may get hurt, you may get battered, you may get beaten, and people not always going to like what you have to do. But if you know it's the right thing to do and you're willing to go the distance to do it, then maybe that makes you more than a hero. Maybe that makes you an inspiration to others. And this is the question that is really at the forefront in this movie. And I say any good movie must have a question like that to ask the audience so they can actually be drawn into the movie. Instead of just making soulless, live action remakes and dragging your IPs through the mud. But that's what you really need to be asking. Excellent. Heroes act like villains. Okay, now let me just say this. Miguel O'Hara, aka Spider-Man 2099. I've never been a big fan of his. Even when he first showed up in comics and stuff like that, I've just never really dug the person. I've never really dug his whole thing about it, It just never really worked for me. I know that there are people who like him and all that thing, nothing wrong with that. I just never really dig the character on the whole. That's just me. The thing about him in this movie is that he's a man trying to do what he believes is right, trying to protect people. But he acts more like a villain than a hero. He has basically drawn everything down to basic ultimatums. There's left, there's right, there's black, there's white. That's it. And he's created this entire society of spider people across the multiverse to do all of these different things. And they've all bought into what he said. And in order to literally implement what he said and not even attempt to change it, they literally end up acting like villains rather than heroes. Now don't get me wrong. They believe what they're doing is right and they're trying to prevent something and all of this. But again, it comes back to my earlier point. What does it mean to be a hero? Does it mean to just simply lay down and say, well, okay, this is the way it's going to be. We have to accept this. Yes, it's hard, but okay. Or do you fight against the odds? And the majority of them aren't willing to do that. So when Miles doesn't want to, that becomes a problem. And you also get to see the philosophical struggle that Gwen is having with either doing what this whole group of spider people want, or following her gut and helping Miles and doing these things. And she has to make her choice, and she does, and she grows, and she gets it done, and she puts together a team comprised of some of the old people from the first movie and some others. And but again, as I say, these heroes are acting like villains because they believe what they're doing is right, and they have literally just bought into that black and white scenario, and that's it. No other way, no nothing else. And it really does give the movie that extra kick to see this happening. And finally, the movie does end on a cliffhanger. The movie does end on a cliffhanger. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it does end on a cliffhanger. And it makes you anxious to see what's coming next. It really does make you anxious to see what's coming next. How are they going to overcome this? What is going to be the outcome? You're hoping for the best, but you never know because, sacrifices, all of this thing, and could they overcome that? It's really interesting. One thing I would have liked to see, that's me personally, that I think if they're doing the end, what I think could have really been really cool was if Miles had ended up by Madam Web, and the Spider-Man from the old Spider-Man animated series, where they actually first did that whole Spider-Verse thing from then. If they were there and then they told him that he has to help them stop the others because what they're going to do is really wrong. And that would have been a nice dynamic to really set up there. I don't know if they might do the next movie, maybe not, but I think it would have been a cool dynamic to do there. But it does end in a way to make you anxious to see what's going to happen next. And it's really interesting. One other thing I will say though, I hope after the next movie that is scheduled to come out, that they don't decide to just keep doing this whole Spider-Verse thing again, because they're going to run out of ideas and they're going to piss off people really quickly. I just hope that, they should just do that if they want to do another movie. Get Miles some villains of his own that he could fight after this whole Spider-Verse thing, and then let's go with that. But I'm just saying it actually does. So the movie does end on a cliffhanger, but it makes you anxious to see what's coming next. So those are my top 10 takeaways from this movie. My final rating for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, I will give the movie a 3.9 out of 5. It is definitely worth watching. You will enjoy it. You may very well end up watching it more than once. It's really good. It's a really good movie, and I am anxious to see what comes next. What the next movie has in store. That is something I think a lot of people who watch this movie will be anxious to see. So that's it for me. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments. I have a different opinion. I'd love to hear it. If you like the video, don't hit that thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Ring the notification bell. Be notified every time I put out a new video. And I shall see you all next time. Take care.